Hello, my name's Joe Allen and I'm an independent creative, and today I'm going to be showing you through my workflow for all of my photography. It's something that quite a few people have been asking me about, and I recently had a comment on one of my previous videos and it kind of just made me think, you know what, I should make a video about this. So I recently got back from a trip to Tokyo and I've got a ton of photos and video content which I'm going to be going through and organising and managing. So I thought I'd run you through how I actually manage my library and the process I'll take to picking out the photos to edit. It's something that I've kind of fine-tuned over the past few years, and I've really got it down to a system that works well for me. So hopefully it's something that can work well for other people as well. And if you've got any suggestions or any tips that you have for yourself, then let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to reply to them. So whilst I was in Tokyo, I actually took a MacBook Pro with me and I was importing photos from all of my cameras into the main Aperture library that was kind of my travelling library. I've actually gone through the process of transferring the library and merging it into my main library. All of my photos I generally keep as referenced files. That means that they're not stored within Aperture, they're just stored as folders within my hard disk. That means that I can move them around a lot easier, and all I have to do in Aperture is just say where the file is located. It makes it a lot easier for sharing photos, moving them between machines, and just generally being able to keep a tidy and manageable system. This process is transferable across various other photo browsers, whether you use Aperture or Lightroom. I prefer Aperture, it's what I've grown to use. However, Aperture is being discontinued, so it's probably not worth purchasing Aperture if you're thinking about what to use. Lightroom has kind of come out as the most popular choice for this. Okay, so I'll jump in straight away and head into my Aperture library, and I'll run you through the process of importing my photos and what I do from there onwards. We're now on my iMac and I'll just fire up Aperture. So I've already imported my photos on my Mac, but this is the process that I would do if I was taking them from a memory card. If you put your memory card into the card reader and then just wait for Aperture to recognize it. So it loads up the import window, which you can select from just here. Otherwise you can do the keyboard Command I. You'll notice that it's loaded up all the thumbnails for all of the photos or videos that you've got. And what you would want to do is select a project or a folder, or create one if you've not actually done so. This is then going to be your destination for where your photos or videos are going to be going. You'll notice that what I like to do is I have a collection of folders. So in this case I've got locations. Then I have projects, so that could be what I've done here is I've set them to cities. And then within those projects I would have folders and smart folders, or albums and smart albums that dictate how I'm going to edit these photos. So as a top level, I would have a particular city, and that would then be my collection of photos. I could then go and add more in over time, so it's not necessarily a time-based project, it's more a project based on however I've organised it. In this case it's by city. So I've got a demo here, and what I would generally do is import all of the content into it, and then if there's anything that I want to get rid of, I would delete it from the project afterwards, rather than being selective at the import process. And if we look to the right hand side, so first of all we've got our destination. We've got the demo project that is selected, that's updated here. If I was to choose a different one, you'll notice it updates in the right hand side. So if you had previously imported from your memory card, you may want to choose do not import duplicates, unless of course you've cleared your memory card and every photo is brand new anyway. So this is now an important stage of where do you want to store the files. What you can do is you can have Aperture manage your library, and by that I means it will have a single file which will be your Aperture library, and all of your photos and thumbnails and everything will be within that one file. That means you can transfer it between computers and everything as just one file that you transfer. However, it does get quite bloated in terms of its size, because Aperture has to generate loads of thumbnails, loads of different previews at various sizes, just for the software to work. As an advanced user, I would prefer to actually store it within a particular folder on my Mac. So I actually have just a folder within my pictures labelled as Aperture Library, and that is just where everything's stored. As I import photos into projects, they then go into subfolders. So I've set up here a preset for how it handles the photos when they come in. So if I go into edit, I can show you that. So what I do is I have my photos recognized by the year that they were created and then placed into another folder. That folder will then say the folder name, which in this case is locations, with an underscore followed by the project name that I'm putting it into. So this would actually put these photos into a directory of 2014. Within that directory there'd be another one called locations underscore demo. You can actually scroll down a little bit further, and I've also got the image date. So just to show you in Finder how that would look. So if I go into my pictures, I have Aperture Library 2014, and I've got here locations, and this is what I've previously imported, Tokyo, and then I have the folders for the dates. This makes it very easy if I wanted to transfer these folders to another particular computer or another person. As they're easily accessible in my Finder, I don't need to go and export them or share them. I can just grab them straight from here. I can just move the whole folder to somewhere else. It's very useful. Not to mention it's also very useful for backing up, because I can just back up individual folders at a time rather than having to back up the whole Aperture Library file if it was as a managed library. So this is what's known as a reference library. I've just got my preset here. It's just a standard preset that I use for every photo that I import. Second along here, and this is very important if you're traveling, quite often people forget to change the time zone on their cameras. So what a lot of people generally do, if they're not proactive on changing the time on their camera, is they'll leave it at whatever their home destination time zone is, and then you can set an actual time for where the photo is taken. And Aperture will then overwrite the time data with an updated piece of information. So in this case, you can change the time zone that's shown in the library to the correct time zone of when you took the photo. I've already set this on my camera. My cameras have a nice feature of a travel time zone and a home time zone, which is very useful. Further in the import field, you can then import information. This is EXIF info or IPTC information. So I've got in here the creator, which is obviously me. So I put my name in there, city I'm from. I generally don't put my full address, just because as these photos can often be shared on various social networks and online, I'd rather not have my whole address within the photo. It's something that you generally forget to remove when you share them. I have my website listed, and a caption for every photo is listed to copyright, and then a further copyright notice is also placed in there if there's an instance where the photo actually has the copyright information removed and the caption kept, or the other way around. You can add in other things here as well, and you can again save presets just like you can with other metadata presets. At the import process, you can also apply effects and adjustments to all of your photos at once. This can be quite useful if every photo you took happened to be just a little too bright or a little too dark. Say if you were doing photos in a studio, you could go and adjust all of those, which makes it a lot easier for when you preview it before you actually edit them. Generally, I don't do anything with my photos until they're in the library themselves. In the top right, you've also got further import settings, so you can have a backup location. This could be very useful. Again, if you're traveling, you may want to import to your laptop and then also import to an external hard drive, and you can keep those separate just in case you have one of them stolen or you lose files or something goes wrong. You can also rename files as they come in. So this can be quite useful if, say, you're doing project work for a particular client. You may want to rename every file that comes in with the project information or the client name, something like that. It's very useful. So I can just go ahead and import those photos. So this is now my Tokyo library. So you can see I've got just a couple of thousand items in here that's made up of movies and photos. And generally what I'll do is import them all, have a quick scroll through just to get a general idea of, you know, what I'm expecting to look through. If there's a particular photo that when I took it I knew that was one that was very important, I might jump straight to it here and want to see it immediately on a large screen. Or if I'm quite open to just browsing through the whole lot, I'll just start from the beginning and look through them all. Let's take, for example, these photos here. that were taken, let's have a look. So these photos here, these were taken at the changeover in Paris. So I can double click on these and that will just load it up full screen. I can press F on the keyboard and have it in complete full screen. If you hover to the top you get various controls, and again at the bottom you get your thumbnails. I've got a pretty big screen, so I like to view it at this size. And I can just use my arrow keys and that will just cycle through each photo, just like this. And as I'm looking through photos, I'm generally looking for something that might, just catch my attention. If there's a photo that I think's quite interesting to look at, I'll then rate it. So Aperture has features, and this is the same in Lightroom as well. You can rate photos up to 5 stars. So let's say there's a photo. So that's kind of nice. So we're just looking through these. If you come across something that you're quite interested by, you can then just rate your photo as, say, 1 star, 2 stars, something like that. Let's just continue through. So I can just give this, say, 1 star. Just trying different positionings here. Let's give this, say, 2 star. Oh, this is quite nice. That's a 3-star photo. 2. I generally don't worry if I'm looking at photos that are very similar. I'll just continue rating through anyway, just because you never know what's coming ahead, and you may have 3 photos that are very similar. You rate the first 2 as 2 star, and then the third one is actually 4 stars. So I'll just keep rating. You see I've got video in here as well. I won't watch those just yet. That's quite nice. So it's a 3-star. Yeah, once I've rated these photos, I'll then want to view just the rated photos. And the way that I'll do that is with a Smart album. So I select my project just over here in the library panel, go up to the top with the plus and click Smart album. So what that will now do is create a Smart album within the Tokyo project, and I can just name it here. So I'm going to call it Rated Photos. And I want to make sure that all of the parameters that I'm about to set are matched with this. So I want to make sure that I'm looking for all photos that have a rating that is greater than or equal to 1 star. Nothing that's unrated. I could set that higher. Say I've gone through and I've found that I've actually rated about 300 photos, but I'm only looking for about 5 or 10 to edit. I may only want to look at all of my 3-star plus photos. But I'll just generally leave this at 1 star and above. And you'll notice that I've also labeled this Smart album as rated photos. So I want to make sure that I'm getting just my rated photos. That's not videos. So I add another rule, and we've got here file type. So I want to make sure that the file type is not video. So that will pick out all of my JPEGs, RAWs, PNGs, and TIFF files, and anything like that. I've now got a Smart album, which will automatically update as I go back through my project Tokyo. If I rate more photos, if I unrate photos, this Smart album will always stay up to date. This way I can then just browse through what I feel are the best photos of the bunch. So I can just look at them, and you'll find that I've got some that are similar. That's because as I've gone through the library, I've found a few that are very good, but didn't realise that there was a better one further along in the list. And I can then, from this rated album, find some of the ones that are maybe not as good and unrate them. So I could set this one to 0 stars just by pressing 0 on the keyboard, and you'll see that will now be removed from the library. When I've got a few rated photos in here, the order that I edit them generally depends from project to project. I may want to start editing these photos from a chronological order so that I'm publishing them in the order that they were taken, or I may just kind of want to go for something that I'm pretty excited about editing and something that I'm looking forward to working on. Or another instance is that I may want to edit only my 4 or 5-star photos first, and then generally from there go and work on the lower rated photos. So this one I thought was quite interesting when I took this. I knew immediately that I definitely wanted to edit this. So I rated this one as 4 stars. What I would like to do from here onwards is then edit this photo. Now you could edit this within Aperture. Aperture has adjustments available, likewise with Lightroom and other photo managers, even iPhoto if you're doing this. But I've set up an external editor within my Aperture preferences. So if you go into the export options within your preferences, you can set an external photo editor, and I've got Adobe Photoshop. This then means that with this photo, if I was to right click, I can choose Edit with Adobe Photoshop. That will then open a version of this photo within Photoshop, and I can begin working on it immediately, just like that. If we go back to Aperture and just see what's happened, you'll see that I've now got 2 versions of this photo. So I've got the original RAW file that was here, and I've now got a PSD file that Aperture has created and has opened within Photoshop for me. This is what's currently open within Photoshop. So if I was to make some adjustments, so let's just do a quick curves. So let's just kind of a very simple S shape, add a bit of contrast. Okay, let's do that. If I was to then save this photo and jump back to Aperture, you'll see that that saved version is now within my library. So I haven't actually had to put it anywhere, it's just there within my library. This is very useful for a lot of people. Personally, I prefer to save my PSDs external of Aperture. I generally just use Aperture as my library for all of my unprocessed images. It's purely a place to organize those photos. So I would actually delete this PSD and just leave my original RAW file here, or JPEG if I was working in JPEGs. But in order to stay up to date with knowing which photos I've edited and which ones are unedited, I will also right click on this and just colour that photo green. So at a glance, if I've got, say a few of these photos that I've edited and I've labelled them green, at a glance I will know which photos I am yet to edit and which ones I've already edited. So I won't go through the process of how I edit this photo in this particular video. This is purely about the workflow of what happens with my files. If you'd like me to do a tutorial on how I edit some of my photos, then leave a comment and I can run you through those at another time. So let's say I have edited this photo. I would then save this. And rather than saving within my Aperture library, I actually have a section within just my documents. Again, organize, photos, then the year, got places, I'd create a new one, called Tokyo. And I would give it a name that's kind of descriptive of the image, but also representative, for me. So if it was, I think this was at Harajuku, and then it's crossing, and I'll give that a version name. Just in case I come back and re-edit it, I'll change that to version 2, version 3 and onwards. So I would save that within there. Now I generally also like to share my photos, whether it's on 500px, Instagram. I used to do a lot on Flickr, but nowadays not so much. But if I want to share these photos, I'll need to save a version that's accessible for the web. So a PSD won't work, and I'll need to do either a JPEG or sometimes a TIFF file, or maybe even a PNG. Generally JPEGs are best for photos. So I'll also choose Save As, and rather than saving it in the same location, I've got a separate folder within my pictures, and again organized by the year, places. I'll create a representative folder for Tokyo, and I'll just save that same photo as a JPEG. Now the reason that I have it here in my pictures rather than within my documents is that this also synchronizes up with my iPhone and my iPad. So that means that when I save a JPEG in here and plug my phone in later on, all of those photos will then be transferred across to my iOS device, which makes it very useful for sharing those to Instagram and other networks. It also is quite a nice reminder sometimes to look through previous photos and old photos, and it's kind of like a personal portfolio with you at all times. So I would save that JPEG just within here. So I've now saved that photo within my documents as a PSD. So we've got them just in here. And I've also got my pictures in similar folder structure as there as a JPEG. So that is generally it. That is a very quick run through of my workflow for how I import photos and how I organize them and then go through to editing. Like I said previously, if you did want to see how I actually edit photos, then I can put together a tutorial on that. Just leave a comment or give it a thumbs up and stuff, and let me know what you'd like to see. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more content, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think. And I'll hopefully be producing more and more content like this. Of course, also watch out for blog posts with all of these photos and videos that I'll be making across everything that I've done from Tokyo. And yeah, I look forward to sharing that with everyone. So thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time.